Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Round the Nation right here. TYT Nation, Jeff Waldorf. We got a great show today for you guys. We're going to talk a lot about the Kavanaugh hearings. So tune in, buckle up for that. We've got some video from the hearings that have been happening all day. And so here's the thing. I have been watching these hearings the whole time. Pretty much all morning since they started. So I'm going to have some commentary, but it is not going to be quite as refined as normal. Because I've just been very busy watching basically that and trying to gather what I can with the limited resources that I have to try to cover this. So a lot of the stories, of course, are going to be on Blasey Ford. And then we also have just a fun Trump story to start out with on how cheap Donald Trump actually is. And then we have Republicans, this is yesterday, talking about the groping allegations. Oh boy. You'll probably enjoy that. Okay. So, just kind of shows you who Republicans are. But I do want to thank everybody for all the birthday wishes that I've gotten today. I wish I were better well-rested. I did not get a lot of sleep last night, so I just didn't have terrible heartburn this week. So I'm a little tired. It's not been the best day, but you guys, I appreciate that. And you guys help make it better, so thank you. All right. Anyway, so before I dive into the stuff, again, I just want to read some subscriber numbers here. 89,134 subscribers, so thank you guys very, very much kindly for that. Almost 90,000. We're getting closer and closer every day to hitting that ultimate goal of 100,000. And then beyond, of course, but 100,000 is the immediate goal. Thank you to everybody for helping make that happen. And thank you to everybody who's using the super chat. She said, let me go here. Monica G says, "Happy birthday, Jeff." And I cannot say the other word, but I'm assuming it's the same thing in Spanish. So thank you. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try to say that, especially being as tired as I am. Okay. Anyway. And again, thank you all for the birthday wishes. But let's get into the first little fun story. We have Donald Trump. So President Trump is notoriously cheap. I think we know that already. He's the kind of person that has consistently stiffed his workers, contractors. He stiffed people that he has borrowed money from, banks. That's why famously, very, very few banks actually no American banks at least would lend money to Donald Trump. Now, Russian banks, however, they're more than happy to lend money to Donald Trump. Also, Deutsche Bank, which has been known as basically the world's laundromat because they launder so much money. So, anyway, very, very cheap. He doesn't like to pay people back, and which is kind of weird since Donald Trump claims that he is so super rich. I mean, if you're a super rich person, well then, look, you wouldn't mind like, oh, yeah, pay for things like the presidential transition team, for example. That's what this is about. Oh, I won't have any problem doing that. But no, this is Donald Trump. He is not as rich as he claims to be. And so when he found out that his campaign was required to fund the transition team, well, he went into a rage. Writing in The Guardian, journalist Michael Lewis explained that former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie had explained to Donald Trump in April of 2016 that it would need to either pay to hire a transition team himself or would you have to use campaign funds to pay for it. Now, Trump originally agreed to let Christie set up a separate fund aimed solely at raising money for the transition. Basically saying, It's not going to be my money. No, I'm just going to raise money from someone else. Now, by August of 2016, the transition team had hired hundreds of people, and Trump found out by reading the newspaper article that the transition fund had raised millions of dollars to pay for him. Upon reading this, reports Lewis, he summoned both Christie and former campaign chairman Steve Bannon into his office and blew up at both of them. Now again, this is a separate fund that Donald Trump agreed to set up to pay for the transition team instead of it coming from his own pocket. But Donald Trump, being stupid / greedy, says this, quote, "You're stealing my money. You're stealing my fucking money. What the fuck is this?" This is the separate campaign fund that Chris Christie set up to pay for the transition team that you literally have to pay for. Now, okay, I could go into a longer commentary about how this also makes presidency, just like the rest of politics, basically inaccessible to regular people, at least when it comes to the federal level. Because in order to run for president, in order to run for Congress, in a lot of these seats, the Senate, the House, the Senate's actually more expensive than the House to run for office. You have to raise a lot of money. A lot of money. So again, that leaves people who don't have that money unable to run in politics. And that really kind of explains why the system is so messed up, is as fucked up as it is. And it explains why people like me and you do not have actual representation. But anyway, Trump doesn't care about any of that. He's like, "Where's my fucking money? You're stealing my money. Where's my money, Chris? Where's my money? You're stealing my money. You're taking it from me and you're putting it towards other people. And I want that money to go into my pocket." Now, if you're a billionaire, why would you care so much about this? Especially since it's not your goddamn money. It's crazy. Okay, anyway, there's more. Trump, basically, every time they try to explain something to Donald Trump that he doesn't like, Trump explodes. In fact, Bannon and Christie tried to explain to Trump that campaigns are required by law to fund transition teams to ensure a smooth transfer of power after an election. Now, what is Donald Trump's response? You're not going to be surprised at all to hear that he said, quote, "Fuck the law. I don't give a fuck about the law. I want my fucking money." No, you've got to understand, he is a very stable genius. Very stable. Stability is one of his selling points, one of the big factors. And that he is so incredibly honest, tells it like it is. Maybe not. Actually, definitely not. Again, it's really strange to see a billionaire going off on just a little bit of extra cost that you were required by law to fund. But no, too much for me. Too much for me. I'm actually not as rich as I want. That's why I have to go and steal from people. That's why I became president in the first place, so that I can grift money off the taxpayer and funnel it right into my businesses. And that's exactly what he's done the entire time in his presidency. He has stolen your money. He has funneled it back into his businesses. Just look at what he did when with Mar-a-Lago. As soon as he became president, he started jacking up the membership fees, and then going to Mar-a-Lago. It's now like $200,000 a year to be a member of Mar-a-Lago, which is ridiculous. And then, oh, look at that, holding official government meetings with foreign leaders at Mar-a-Lago, which of course the profits of that goes right back into his business, right back into his pocket. He's nothing but a grifter. And if you try to, explain that he needs to put up a little bit of his own money, that's the reaction that you get. Fuck you, fuck the law. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't care at all about law. He doesn't care at all about paying his workers. So you think he's going to care when he's wasting your tax money? Think about it. Okay. Anyway. All right. So let's go into the heavy stuff. We got Christine Blasey Ford. All right. Earlier today, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, during her testimony, she described in detail her alleged sexual assault by Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Now, first, I want to show you some of these videos because it is really powerful to actually hear her talk, to hear her speak about this. And she's going to start off by explaining why she's actually there at the hearing, why she decided, because again, this is not a criminal proceeding. This is her giving her sworn testimony in front of Congress to basically say why we should not, or why they should not allow the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to continue. So I'm going to go to her video here explaining why she's there and why she's speaking out. Let's take a look.
I am here today not because I want to be. I am terrified. I am here because I believe it is my civic duty to tell you what happened to me while Brett Kavanaugh and I were in high school. I have described the events publicly before. I summarized them in my letter to Ranking Member Feinstein and again in a letter to Chairman Grassley. I understand and appreciate the importance of your hearing from me directly about what happened to me and the impact that it has had on my life and on my family.
Okay, so she's there, she says, because it is her civic duty. So understand that it's not just about what happened to her. It's about her saying, look, this person that is capable of doing such things as what I have alleged shouldn't be on the court, shouldn't be in such a high position. That's why I'm here today. And that's incredibly powerful. Now, I want to go to, and this is going to be a rather long video, but I want to play the whole thing to give you proper context into basically what happened, her version of events, and I'm going to play this for you and take a look.
During my time at the school, girls at Holton Arms frequently met and became friendly with boys from all boys schools in the area, including the Landon School, Georgetown Prep, Gonzaga High School, as well as our country clubs and other places where kids and families socialized. This is how I met Brett Kavanaugh, the boy who sexually assaulted me. During my freshman and sophomore school years, when I was 14 and 15 years old, my group of friends intersected with Brett and his friends for a short period of time. I had been friendly with a classmate of Brett's for a short time during my freshman and sophomore year. And it was through that connection that I attended a number of parties that Brett also attended. We did not know each other well, but I knew him and he knew me. One evening that summer, after a day of diving at the club, I attended a small gathering at a house in the Bethesda area. There were 4 boys I remember specifically being at the house: Brett Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, a boy named PJ, and one other boy whose name I cannot recall. I also remember my friend Leland attending. I do not remember all of the details of how that gathering came together, but like many that summer, it was almost surely a spur-of-the-moment gathering. I truly wish I could be more helpful with more detailed answers to all of the questions that have and will be asked about how I got to the party and where it took place and so forth. I don't have all the answers, and I don't remember as much as I would like to. But the details about that night that bring me here today are the ones I will never forget.
All right, so let me just stop there for a second. It's important that she points out that, look, there are some things that I don't remember. So now, if it's Democrat smear job, as a lot of the political commentary on the right has been saying. Like all these commentators, like, oh, purely political Democrat smear machine. Well, then that's pretty bad, because she's admitting, look, there's stuff that I don't know. There's stuff that I don't remember. Well, no, if this is a politically motivated smear job, then she would have all that stuff already laid out, and all that stuff supposedly, that she was supposedly coached on, right? No, this is somebody who I think did go through an incredibly traumatic experience. And when you go through a traumatic experience, as was pointed out later on in the hearings, you don't always remember everything. You don't always remember the small details, but you certainly remember the big ones. And as far as the details go, Dr. Blasey Ford remembers quite a few of them. In fact, this is what she remembers from the assault. Continue.
They have been seared into my memory and have haunted me episodically as an adult. When I got to the small gathering, people were drinking beer in a small living room, family room type area on the first floor of the house. I drank one beer. Brett and Mark were visibly drunk. Early in the evening, I went up a very narrow set of stairs leading from the living room to a second floor to use the restroom. When I got to the top of the stairs, I was pushed from behind into a bedroom across from the bathroom. I couldn't see who pushed me. Brett and Mark came into the bedroom and locked the door behind them. There was music playing in the bedroom. It was turned up louder by either Brett or Mark once we were in the room. I was pushed onto the bed, and Brett got on top of me. He began running his hands over my body and grinding into me. I yelled, hoping that someone downstairs might hear me, and I tried to get away from him, but his weight was heavy. Brett groped me and tried to take off my clothes. He had a hard time because he was very inebriated, and because I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit underneath my clothing. I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling. This is what terrified me the most and has had the most lasting impact on my life. It was hard for me to breathe, and I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me. Both Brett and Mark were drunkenly laughing during the attack. They seemed to be having a very good time. Mark seemed ambivalent, at times urging Brett on, and at times telling him to stop. A couple of times I made eye contact with Mark and thought he might try to help me, but he did not. During this assault, Mark came over and jumped on the bed twice while Brett was on top of me. And the last time that he did this, we toppled over and Brett was no longer on top of me. I was able to get up and run out of the room. Directly across from the bedroom was a small bathroom. I ran inside the bathroom and locked the door. I waited until I heard Brett and Mark leave the bedroom, laughing, and loudly walk down the narrow stairway, pinballing off the walls on the way down. I waited, and when I did not hear them come back up the stairs, I left the bathroom, went down the same stairwell, through the living room, and left the house. I remember being on the street and feeling an enormous sense of relief that I had escaped that house and that Brett and Mark were not coming outside after me. Brett's assault on me drastically altered my life. For a very long time, I was too afraid and ashamed to tell anyone these details. I did not want to tell my parents that I, at age 15, was in a house without any parents present, drinking beer with boys. I convinced myself that because Brett did not rape me, I should just move on and just pretend that it didn't happen.
Okay. So that is incredibly powerful testimony. So look, I know we've had the transcript, right, of this statement since earlier this week. But to listen to that, to listen to her voice, to watch her deliver this statement, you actually start to understand the gravity of what this really means. You start to see, like, you get what she went through. You can hear the emotion in her voice. If you don't believe her, I don't know. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't believe her. But look, to let you know more about the impact that she had, she also mentioned later on and how this stays. Victims of this assault have the assault stay with them for the rest of their lives. The reason that this came up, that she told her husband, because her husband didn't know anymore. As she said before, she didn't want to tell anybody. There was all this shame which comes along with a lot of sexual assault, and I hate to say it, that unfortunately many of the victims, the women who have had this happen to them, somehow feel ashamed because it happened, because somebody took advantage of them. It is a horrifying thing. So she eventually tells her husband, and the reason that this came up, and this is actually part of her testimony as well. Later on, she said, look, one piece of proof that I have is that I had told my therapist in a couples counseling session. Why did that come up? It's because when they were remodeling their house, and this is how deeply ingrained this situation was, she wanted a second front door built into her house. Now, a lot of people think, what? A second front door? Why would you need one of those? That's a weird request. Her husband couldn't understand it. Like, I don't understand. We have one front door. One front door is good enough. Why do we need a second front door? Well, it's because it's one of those things where that assault has always prompted her to want to have a second escape route, because of the way that she ended up having to leave that house. I need an escape route. I need a second one. And unfortunately, that didn't help her, as since this came out, she was chased from her home, from that home with the second escape route. That's devastating. Absolutely devastating. And look, everything about that is incredibly devastating. The fact that she claims that Kavanaugh, put his hand over her mouth so that she couldn't scream, so that she couldn't get away, and that she kept eyeing Mark. By the way, Mark Judge is basically hiding in a beach house somewhere. Like, oh, no, me? No, I didn't have anything to do with this. I refuse to testify. I refuse to say anything other than, oh, I didn't do it. I refuse to take part in any sort of hearing or to be investigated at all. No, I'm not interested in it. That's the guy who supposedly could have jumped in and helped, but instead was laughing with his buddy, with his friend, about nearly raping a woman. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. This is an incredibly powerful testimony, and also incredibly damning as well. Why they don't have Mark Judge come and testify, why the Republicans are not saying, yes, let's have the FBI investigate. Why Judge Kavanaugh is not saying, I would like an investigation. Because if Mark Kavanaugh didn't do it, then he would absolutely need to clear his name, because these are very, very specific and very serious accusations. If somebody came out and made those accusations against me, I'd be like, yes, investigate. Absolutely, because I know I didn't do it. I want all the facts. I want it without a shadow of a doubt that I did not do it. I want that out there. So yes, do the investigation. And it is telling that the Republicans are not interested in doing an investigation, that Kavanaugh himself has not so far called for an investigation. As far as I know right now, he has not done so, and it kind of makes you wonder why. Okay. We have more. All right. So earlier during today's hearings, Christine Blasey Ford gave an incredibly powerful testimony against Brett Kavanaugh. Now, earlier she was asked by Senator Patrick Leahy during the question session, what was the strongest memory that she has of the incident? Here's her response.
What is the strongest memory you have? Strongest memory of the incident, something that you cannot forget. Take whatever time you need.
Indelible in the hippocampus is the laughter, the uproarious laughter between the two, and they're having fun at my expense.
You've never forgotten that laughter. You've never forgotten them laughing at you.
They were laughing with each other.
And you were the object of the laughter?
I was, underneath one of them while the two laughed. Two friends having a really good time with one another.
Look, if that isn't disturbing, I don't know what is. Imagine that something like that happening to you, where there are people that are assaulting you, that are laughing, that are having a great time, a fantastic time. Oh, look at how much fun that we're having pinning this poor woman down. And that is the very thing that is etched in her memory. The thing that is the strongest memory. Because she is afraid. She's terrified. Can't escape. And they're having a great time. Just two friends. Just having the time of their lives, man. Having a few drinks and holding a defenseless woman down. And covering her mouth and turning the radio up. With the intent of doing sexual assault. It is sickening. It is disgusting. And it does. If this is true. And I do believe her. But if this is true, it shows exactly the kind of person that Kavanaugh and Mark Judge are. Which is two incredibly disgusting human beings. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We got more stories, so stay right here. Around the Nation. everybody. Welcome back to the show. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Around the nation. Okay. Got a lot of super chats, and I can't thank you guys enough for them. Martin Trammell says, happy birthday, and thanks for fighting on behalf of the common man. Best progressive indie newscast. Cheers. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I fight for the common man because that's kind of what I am. I mean, you guys know my past. I've worked in retail. I've worked in factories for most of my life. Can you believe it? I've only been doing this for probably about doing this daily show for about 3 years. And then doing panels for about 2, maybe 3 years. So I have not been doing this that long. Most of my life has been involved in factory work or in retail. So like stocking shelves and stuff. So yeah, I'm one of you guys. So, and it just heartens me to, to know that I'm doing a good job representing, us as regular working people. So I appreciate that. So thank you, Martin. Tira says, happy birthday. I'm a patron, but still wanted to show you some birthday love. Thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you. Well, I appreciate you too, Tira. I appreciate all of you. You're all amazing. So thank you so much for that. Hans de Rouge, hopefully I said that right. Thank you, Hans. No message, but that's awesome. Thank you for donating using the super chat. Dajner says, a very happy birthday to you. I hope this little gift can help make your day brighter. Thank you for a great show as always from one of your Danish fans. Well, thank you, Dajner. I really appreciate that as well. Thank you. I love my overseas fans as well. I mean, I love all you guys. But it is really interesting that I've got people who, like, I talk about American politics all day, but I've got you guys out there in other countries that are tuning in to watch, and I just think that's amazing. And I appreciate that. And then again, our American politics is not boring either. It is a shit show, a literal shit show. So, to be fair, it is very interesting to watch. Not so interesting to live under, though. But there you go. But thank you anyway, Dashner. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate that. Okay. All right. So let's dive in. We've got more stuff related to Kavanaugh. So let's the hearings. So let's jump in. There's a little bit of analysis that I want to talk about as well. Okay. All right. So Rachel Mitchell is the Republicans' pick to basically ask Republican questions for them. It's sort of a weird setup that they have. So Republicans basically want to ask these questions of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, but they don't actually want to do it themselves. So they bring in Ms. Mitchell, or Ms. Mitchell, who's an Arizona prosecutor for Maricopa County. She worked under Joe Arpaio, and interesting enough, when she was working as a sex crimes prosecutor, she actually did not do a very good job from her job records from that time. Lovely, right? So look, I was expecting coming into it for Mitchell to be, I guess, really, really tough with her questioning, to basically try to pick apart her story. Now, she didn't do that, which was very, very interesting. Instead, she did ask some important questions, and of course, she tried to ascertain the facts, which you're supposed to do when you're a prosecutor. So you set down the basis of facts, but then, of course, I was expecting her to, of course, start getting hard into the questions once those facts are established, and to basically pick apart her story. She didn't do that. In fact, she actually, I think, made Blasey Ford's case even stronger. So, and I'm not the only one who believes that. you also have an ex-U.S. attorney who's saying basically the same thing. In fact, this is Mimi Rocha. And this is a former U.S. Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Now, she said of the format, which again, a lot of people found very, very strange in this, it was 5-minute limit to questions, right? Now, she said that that limit had severely hindered questioning by Rachel Mitchell. She said, frankly, as a former prosecutor, I'm embarrassed that this prosecutor, Ms. Mitchell, is participating in this sham. Because of what is going on right here is she is trying to put Dr. Ford on trial for interrupting the flow of Judge Kavanaugh's nomination. That is what this feels like. Now look, watching that, I also got a trial feeling. But she's not on trial. Blasey Ford, Dr. Ford, not on trial. This is a job interview for Kavanaugh. So, look, Republicans were trying to make the case that, oh, we need due process for Kavanaugh. But we point out, it's not a trial. And then the Republicans hire somebody on to make this feel like a trial. That's fascinating. And I believe it was Kamala Harris who came out later and said, we just want to remind you, this is not a trial. And I think that's really important because it was really starting to feel like a trial. So that's an interesting piece of analysis there from Ms. Rocha. Now, she also said of Ford, the witness, she said she was highly credible. Quote, having seen, I don't know, hundreds of witnesses in my career, she is incredibly credible in trying to remember as many details as she can, and she explained how memory works, not just for trauma. Now that's interesting because one of the things that I took away from her testimony is how much that she remembered from when she was 15 years old, when the assault had happened. She remembered what the house layout was, right? How many people were there. Now, she couldn't remember the date and the time. And that's actually pretty common with assault survivors, that they don't remember the exact dates and times. Hell, I can't remember exact dates and times of when I do things. And I didn't endure any assault. So it's actually really, really difficult for me to remember dates and times of when I've done things or not. So in her case, remembering 36 years ago, also having to have dealt with what she had dealt with during her time in that house. It's amazing that she remembers as much as she does and with such clarity. So she basically remembered, and she explained, I remember going up the stairs. It was a small staircase, going into that bedroom, the bathroom that I remember. The bed was literally on the right-hand side when you go walk into the door. So she explained all those details. Now, look, if you were making something up, you really wouldn't be able to cite such important detail as that. And so that's what also makes her more credible, the detail in her story. Now, she said that Ford basically drew on her education and background to offer those detailed explanations of not just her own recollections, but the science behind her memory. She said, if the three of us sitting right here now tomorrow were to try and recount what happened here at the important details, who was sitting at the table, there were bright lights, it was chilly in the room, I would remember that. Brian Williams was wearing a tie, but if someone asked me tomorrow what color the tie was, I may not remember. It's a very nice tie, but I may not remember the color. I may not remember how many cameramen were standing to my left. You remember the big points. That's what's important. And that is what she remembers. She remembers a lot of the detail. It is those big details that happen to stand out. And especially, look, if you're a survivor of something that is incredibly stressful, you will remember absolutely certain details because they will stay with you. They will haunt you. Those are details that do not go away. Could be even certain smells or the way certain things look or certain colors. or just feelings. But there is always something that you remember from that situation. Now, it's not just her memory, though. It's the fact that Ford also was a trained professional. So she also has certain training when dealing with psychological matters. That also lends to her credibility in giving her testimony. In fact, Rocha also says that it's a benefit. She said when she started talking about memory and how it works, it's almost like you're listening to an expert witness. And basically explain prosecutors and defense attorneys rely on expert witness testimony to explain complex topics to jurors. But Ford, in this case, was able to serve as both an eyewitness and an expert. She said, quote, "We call them in court all the time after the victim's survivor has testified. And here she is embodying both in one. So many people are crying for her, but they're also cheering for her because the strength and the fact that she has the peace of mind to sort of remember the science behind this while she's talking about something so traumatic is actually amazing." She added, finally, "I think, look, for anyone to sit here now after seeing that, I defy anyone to say that she is lying about this." Well, here's the thing. There are definitely people out there that are already saying, that are still saying that she's lying about it. And why? It's because they have approached this situation through the lens of partisanship. Well, she wants to stop Kavanaugh, which it must be a Democratic plot. Later on in the hearing, a lot of the Republican questions, especially from people like Lindsey Graham and Jeff Flake, they were basically trying to make the argument, going through the framing of, well, she must have been coached. Who paid for the polygraph? Was it the political allies? Who paid for this? Who paid for that? It's all basically a way to try to paint this as a politically motivated hit job. That's what the whole thing's about. And look, that's why, guess what? We need an investigation. If I were Judge Kavanaugh right now, I would want an investigation. Again, these are incredibly serious charges. This is an incredibly credible witness, right? Who is very well spoken, knows what she's talking about. And look, you can go and watch the video where she testifies. It is both strong and filled with emotion. It is hard not to get emotional while you're watching that. And it's hard not to believe her. So if I were Kavanaugh, I'd want that. I would want that investigation. Because, look, if, say, the Republicans are right and this is some political hit job, an investigation would probably actually find that out. But I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying that I believe her. I absolutely believe her and her story. And, again, a lot of people, you can't deny that she is a very credible witness and that her testimony is incredibly moving and that it's going to be very, very difficult for people not to believe her. Now, speaking of that, let's go to Trump's reaction. All right. Yeah, I'm actually also getting some breaking news from you guys. I just want to check on this just to see what the hell is going on. Because I'm doing this live, and if I was not doing this live right now, I would be I would be watching this the hearing right now. Isn't it weird on my birthday to be watching like Kavanaugh hearings? This is my life. This is my life. So let me check some tweets here and see what's going on here. So I'm trying to get the breaking stuff. So, okay. Kavanaugh is apparently crying. Well, that's fascinating. Look, hey, you know what? No, I'm not going to say that. Okay. I want to get an update for you guys on what's going on. So now, first he comes out as incredibly angry, and now he is crying. Well, that's awesome. We all wondered what Kavanaugh was actually going to do, but apparently he is angry man today. So, okay. No, I actually cannot watch it muted, because then I wouldn't know what's going on. But anyway, okay. So with that, let's go to closed captioning. That depends on if I have closed captioning on the stream, which some do, some don't. Fair enough. Okay, so let's go to Trump, and then we'll take a quick break and we'll do the last story. Okay. All right. So earlier today, we heard testimony from Christine Blasey Ford. Now, she is the first Kavanaugh accuser who has a very, very detailed testimony against Trump's Supreme Court nominee. So, look, her testimony is incredibly powerful. She detailed how she thought that doing this coming forward with these accusations is a civic duty. So she was questioned by a Senate committee. Earlier today, Republicans in the Senate and Democrats asked her questions. There was a sex crimes prosecutor that was also asking questions and cross-examining her. And, well, she basically came out to be a very credible witness. She was very well-spoken, and she did a very good job. Basically stating, telling her story. So, how is Trump's reaction for this? I'm sure everybody wants to know. I'm very interested in knowing. And so is apparently Gabriel Sherman. Now, Gabriel Sherman, of course, writes for Vanity Fair, and he has a lot of sources inside the White House. So, again, what is Trump's reaction? Well, according to Sherman's source, Trump is, quote, raging at how bad this has been for Republicans so far. Even Donald Trump is saying, look, man, her testimony is credible. Now, what's interesting is yesterday, Trump himself, during one of his rambling press conferences, was basically saying, look, I have an open mind. I'll listen to her. Yeah, no, I'll listen to her testimony. In fact, I can't wait to hear. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to postpone the meeting with Rod Rosenstein. Now, that was big news earlier this week, with Rod Rosenstein possibly resigning or getting fired. Donald Trump bumped that back to listen to this testimony, and even Trump is saying, oh crap, she sounds very credible. This person close to Trump, according to Sherman, tweeting, says Trump is raging at how bad this has been for Republicans. Trump told people Ford seems credible per source. The second source tells Sherman that Trump is tearing apart aides because they, quote, didn't have advanced knowledge of how credible Ford would seem. You guys didn't tell me she was going to be credible, that she was going to be so well-spoken. I mean, again, he was talking about and spreading this lie about accusers that have come out against Donald Trump himself, saying, oh, they got paid off. By whom? Where is this money that you speak of that was being used to pay off the accusers of Donald Trump? In fact, that didn't actually happen. What actually happened is that one of the accusers, Stormy Daniels, came out and said, Donald Trump, we had sex, and then he paid me off. And then tried to silence me. And that's not any of the sexual harassment or assault accusations that Trump has against him. But he says, well, all those, oh, no. They're all paid off. So I can imagine how people would be, paid off to go against Brett Kavanaugh. But that's not the case. There's absolutely no proof. And now, after seeing her testimony, he is very, very worried. Now, another Trump ally shared a similar assessment as the president reportedly has, and then joked to Sherman that attorney Rachel Mitchell's attempts to cross-examine Ford had been so bad that she, quote, must be working for the Democrats. Aha! We found who the paid one is. It's not Christine Blasey Ford. It's Rachel Mitchell doing such a terrible job at trying to destroy Blasey Ford. Figured it out. Figured it out. Again, that's a joke. Nonetheless, accurate. Blasey Ford, again, super credible witness. And Mitchell, look, we all expected her to go really hard on questions to make a pivot after establishing, of course, a fact base. She didn't. And in fact, every attempt to try to undermine that story, Blasey Ford's story, has absolutely failed. Failed. Uh-oh. This could be very, very bad for Kavanaugh. Look, we have to see what Kavanaugh's reaction to it actually is. But, oh, man. If Donald Trump is worried, then the end for Kavanaugh is near. Okay. We'll take one more break, and then we'll get back to the last story here after I do some look up some updates on what's going on. All right. everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf. Got a couple of super chats to read from you guys. RB says, happy birthday. Thank you, RB. Coffee Grow, also with birthday wishes. Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are amazing. So I took the break to watch Kavanaugh's meltdown. Oh, boy. Look, so here's the thing. And maybe I hope I'm wrong about this. But here's the thing. If Kavanaugh is innocent, right? Which, you know, he claims that he is, right? He's even crying about it. Then call for an FBI investigation. Now, if like I said, if somebody is innocent and is getting emotional, then he should take his time out to say, hey, look, Christine Blasey Ford is right about one thing. Or a couple of things. She was assaulted, but it wasn't me. And this is actually their defense. Wasn't me. Could have been a doppelganger. Could have been somebody else. You were misremembering, right? That's actually their defense. But the other part should be, if you didn't do it, is, well, investigate. I am open for investigation. Please do an investigation. Clear my name. Because I don't want to have this following me for the rest of my life if I get this judgeship. No, this thing is going to ruin my life. So do the investigation. Now, I wonder if he's going to go in that direction. We'll have to see. But right now, it just seems like crocodile tears at this point. But okay. Anyway. Let's move on. One more. Okay. So prior to the hearing in which we heard Christine Blasey Ford testify against Brett Kavanaugh over sexual assault allegations that happened over 30 years ago, we were wondering how Republicans view sexual assault in general. Okay, so look, let me give you an example here. So there are actually a lot of allegations against President Donald Trump, and also allegations against Roy Moore and a lot of other prominent Republicans. And a lot of us wonder here on the left, how could women vote for people who have all of these terrible allegations in the past and actually have a lot of credible witnesses that back up these allegations of sexual assault? What's going through Republican women's minds? And I'm not saying all Republican women, but I'm saying I think that there's some women out there who were just wondering how you could still support people that have these allegations. Well, apparently we found out the answer. Now, MSNBC reporters had found a woman that basically said, gropes, not a big deal. Groping women don't really care. Now, this woman, who MSNBC identifies as a Trump supporter, of course, made the comment in answering a question about Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, who, of course, is testifying currently. Now, I want to show you her answer on whether or not this is important and what she actually feels, what she actually thinks, I should say, about Kavanaugh, about the allegations.
Bozeman, Montana yesterday, NBC's Ali Vitale asked a Trump supporter and mother of two daughters about the accusations against Kavanaugh.
Groping a woman, which is, what is that, at 18? I mean, how many guys, you know, think that's no big deal? Even back then, it was, it's not a big deal. It doesn't just take away from his character and his job to do what he needs to do as a Supreme Court nominee.
Oh, groping a woman, no big deal. I mean, how many guys think that's no big deal? Well, we're not asking guys if you think groping a woman is a big deal. We're asking women if you think groping is a big deal. And guess what? A lot of women think it's kind of a big deal because guess what? A lot of women don't want to be groped. But apparently you do. Apparently you're fine with it, which is amazing. Amazing. Jesus. Now, she said, and by the way, this woman is not identified by name. Probably a good thing. She said the opposition to Kavanaugh from the left was a result of Kavanaugh's possible opposition to abortion rather than questions about his background. Quote, if he was pro-abortion, the liberals wouldn't be fighting this hard. Well, that's where you're wrong. People on the left, as soon as there's an accusation of sexual impropriety, the left basically forms a circle and destroys that person. Look at Al Franken. Great example of that. I know there's some liberals out there that still support Al Franken. I'm sorry, guys. I love you, but you're wrong. He had to go. He had to go. Also, look, there are other liberals also that were accused of sexual harassment. Guess what? They're also gone. So, no, it doesn't have anything to do about partisan politics. It has everything to do of whether or not you're a terrible human being who has groped and / attempted to rape another a woman. I mean, how hard is this, right? But no, she continues. We're all sick and tired of hearing about the Kavanaugh thing because it's not supported by facts or evidence whatsoever. And we're just going to throw out that claim without, presenting the other side of that. But see, this is what they do. They repeat the lie long enough, over and over and over again. There's nothing to support her accusations. There's nothing to support her accusations. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. She must be lying. She must be a paid Democrat actor out there to destroy Kavanaugh. But that's not the truth at all. But get this. To show you how Republican women, especially, and Republicans in general, feel about this. A recent NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll found that a majority of Republicans say that they believe that Kavanaugh should be confirmed, regardless whether the allegations against him are true. So this is not an aberration. This woman. No. This is him. This is the Republican Party. These are Republican women saying, who cares? Grope women? Not interested. All I care about is politics. All I care about is my political wins. Look, if you wonder why so many white women, especially, went to Donald Trump, it was over half of all white women voted for Donald Trump. I don't know if there's some sort of internalized misogyny going on here. I guess definitely I think that happens in some Republican circles. I don't know. But it astounds me that you can vote for and support a party and support people who don't see you as human beings, who see you as objects, who see you as things that we can just grope anytime that we want. Hey, that's fine. No, let's go. Look, there's a president right now who admitted on camera, I just grab him by the genitals. And they let you do it. And so I just go and I do it without asking, and they let me do it anyway. That's the kind of people you support. Even if he did it. Majority of Republicans. Over 50%. I don't care. That's what they say. I don't care. Maybe you would care if it was your wife or your daughter. Or maybe in this case, you don't. Because look at the message that she is sending to her daughters right there. Hey, man, if a dude gropes you, it's fine. It's okay. It doesn't matter anyway. And these girls are like, yeah, doesn't matter. Somebody comes and gropes me, that's fine. It's amazing what politics, what tribalism does to people. It's just amazing. Okay. Jesus. All right. That's it, guys. That's all I've got for the show today. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. There's a lot of people not on the stream. Normally we get a lot more, but understandable. The Kavanaugh hearings are going on right now. And if I had the ability, I would probably like stream that hearing right now and do commentary. But I'm not able to do that and edit and do all the stuff that I need to do. So I can't do that yet. But one of these days, I would love to be able to. But anyway, thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate that. Appreciate the birthday wishes and the super chats and all that stuff. You guys are absolutely amazing. So thank you. All right. Love you guys. Thank you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.